and it's another structure deck opening time, and it's Geargia Rampage this week. I know it's a bit late, a couple of days late, but I will be also doing the LC 5Ds one that will be coming out in a couple of days time, so I should be doing one of those. This again from Travelling Man. I got it for about £7 or £8, I think. I've got discount on there. So yeah, this is a very interesting one because these used to be very tournament based, with Geargia Gear being the base trap card that could really make fast XYZs. But due to Geargia Gear's limitations to 1, it's not as powerful, so I think that's why they've released this as a structure deck now. This has some new support for the Geargias and gives options to make any of the models that are out there so far, like Ancient Gear, Gadget, or I think there's one for Machine as well. So opening this, never had luck with this bit. I do miss the little stickers at the side. They were a lot easier to open with. Yes, but this is getting ripped. Just gonna have to rip into it. And got it, finally. Just have to more or less rip it into pieces. Okay, and that's what you get with it. Geargia map. And you can see if this works. More or less what you get in the sneak peek peek mat. But I think that one's not this kind of material. I don't know if that's paper or laminated stuff. There's something else. It's not as good. You get deck list there, if you can see that properly. Probably not. And then you get a quick how-to guide on using more or less Geargia Gear and showing how it changes all the way through this dynamic and how you can reconstruct it again. So yeah, and the cover card for this is Geargia Gear Giant XG. It's just a mouthful, that name. I've already bought 2 other ones of this, so I have played it out. And it's a decent deck, more of a fun deck to me, though, to be honest. It doesn't have I don't think it has much of a capacity to go against hack decks or Shadow decks, but it is quite fun to play with. I would suggest, if you want to make this deck and want to get the structure deck for actual making purposes, to get 2 or 3 of them. 3 is the most best one, but 2 you can as long as you trade for a few more of these that are already in here. So first we got Geargia Gigant XG. This one is the boss monster, 2500 attack, 1300 defense. This monster can stop cards like Mirror Force or Magic Cylinder, for example, because when you release one of its units while it's attacking, it can protect it from other cards, such negate face-up cards, and then protects it from other ones. Then you have to do another one. Then you have to do, if they then chain a Mirror Force to that, you can send another one out, another unit off, and then you get protection from that. So you'd have to waste their traps, but downside to that being 2 units. I think it should be able to do 1 based on chain on Mirror Force, but I'm not sure. I haven't checked that out yet. And when it leaves the field, not when it's destroying a battle or by a card effect, when it leaves the field, like at Elemental Hero Absolute Zero, you can then I think it's you can then add a Geargia card from your graveyard to your hand. So that can add Geargia Gear, which is the best boss trap card in this. Geargia Yugioh, MK2, MK3, any of the Geargia sects can be added to your hand for countless possibilities. The best one I've seen usually with this is Yugioh MK2, which is the best, which I class as the best Geargia. Next one we've got is Geargia. I think it used to be a OCG or TCG only card. This is his first release in ultra rare, beautiful, quite beautiful there. You can see, I think it's which Geargia is it? Yeah, it's Geargiano MK3 getting hit on the head with a rock while it's drilling, which I find quite funny. The best way to use this is to add Geargia Accelerator to your hand. So then, because you cannot summon any other monsters, especially summon any monsters except for machine types or attacks. So best on your first turn, then special summon a Geargia Accelerator, and then overlay to make Gear Gigant X. Yeah, that's quite a cool card. Next one is Geargiano MK3. This is another brand new Geargiano. It's the third of the series, as you know. This one, when it's special summoned by a Geargia monster, it can special summon another Geargia monster, but you can only use that effect once per turn, and you cannot special summon any monsters except from Geargia. This stops you from using it to bring out Gear Gigant X, but it's perfect for bringing out Geargia Gigant X G. So perfectly timed with an MK2 can special summon MK3, which can special summon MK1. So then those three can be used to create the boss Geargia, which I think is, out of these, I think for a good deck, about 2 or 3 of those should work. 2 or 3 of those again, definitely 3 of those. So that's why you need 3 decks, because to get the Geargia MK3, unless you know people that are going to trade that card. Another one, a new one, is again, I think this is it's MK3's contraption again. It's Geargia Attacker, a very powerful card. Although it doesn't allow you to search or special summon Geargia monsters, you can flip it, and then when it's flipped up face up, this can be through battle as well, which is a lot better version than just having to flip summon it. It can destroy spells and traps up to the amount of Geargia monsters you have on the field. This does not include Gear Gigant X. But you can, if say you have a field of Geargia, you flip this up, you can destroy up to 4 spells and traps on your opponent's side of the field, which is great against like Fire Fist, as long as you keep this on the field. It's got a weak defense of 100, but its attack is 1900, so it's a good base attacker for this deck as well. Kind of like a reverse of Geargia armor. Next one, you get 2 of Geargiano MK. This is MK1, as I referred to earlier. This one, I believe you should only use like 1 of these. You can use like 2 of the attacker, but this one is not as, I don't see as good because you contribute this card to special summon a level 4 machine monster from your graveyard, which is versatile to machine decks. But it doesn't like if you special summon like Geargiano MK3, you can only summon another Geargia. You don't have enough for Geargia Gigant XG. God, these are really bad tongue twisting names. But Geargiano is a decent card, probably about one of those you should run. Okay, next one is more the boss one, Geargiano MK2. This one can special summon a Geargia monster from your hand or your graveyard, and it's free, more or less free summon that way. It doesn't have any restrictions to this, just Geargia monsters, so it's a good way to summon a Geargiano or Geargiano MK3. MK3 being the best option for this, unless you have Residence Device, and then you can change this level to a level 4. Next one is Geargia Accelerator, another powerful Geargia card. It can special summon if you have a Geargia monster on your side of the field, and when it's destroyed, you can add a Geargia to your hand. Oh wait, no. When it's just sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 to your hand, which could be very good for bringing out Gear Gigant X. That's very good. You should need like 3 of those. I've tried 3. It's always been better. And here we have Geargia Arsenal. a 1500 attack point monster, which gains 200 for each other Geargia on their field, so that can basically go all the way up to 2500 attack. And then you contribute it to special summon a Geargia monster from your deck, so this could be good for setting up for Geargia armor, or setting up for another, or use your Geargia accelerator as destruction to add another one. Next one is another boss, Geargia armor, one of the best Geargia monsters. Has 1900 defense and 1100 attack points. When it's flipped face up, you can add a Geargia from your deck to your hand, and it can flip itself face down like Geargia attacker can. So that's another. So it's 3 addings to your hand through this monster. And it's got a great defense, so it can block weak attacks from the beginning. And now we get to the non-Geargia sect. First one is 2 green gadgets, 2 red gadgets, and 2 yellow gadgets. This is basically for the gadget adding. Then you'll be able to bring out a normal level 4, and if it's special summon like from a Geargiano, you can still add from your deck through this. Really, you need a playset for these to be that viable, but I don't see them being very applicable in the Geargia deck anyway, unless you're making Geargia gadgets. And then we get 2 Ancient Gear cards, Ancient Gear Gadgetron Chimera and Ancient Gear Gadgetron Dragon. And these work in conjunction with the gears, especially summoning them to have tribute summons for these. And the first reprint of Gadgetron Dragon without it being a high level, I think. It's I remember seeing this in Machine Revolt deck, being the boss monster for that. But now it's common in this deck. Life goes on, and I'll show you what it goes well with in this deck. That you get is the Gear Talent Field Spells. If these are I think it's destroyed. If this is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Ancient Gear monster from your deck. Can't talk very well today, big getting sore throat. So you'll be able to special summon that from your deck to your graveyard. And if you use the gadgets, corresponding gadgets, you can use other effects that it has. It also, with the Ancient Gear sect, your opponent can activate spells and traps during their damage step, so it can be very powerful. But as I say, unless you're not playing pure Geargia, it's not going to be. Unless you're playing, if you're playing pure Geargia, it's not going to be that applicable. But Ancient Gear Geargias would definitely help with this comment. And then we've got Jumbo Drill. A decent monster. It can when it's normal summon, you can increase the levels of all machine types you control by 1. And then if this card attacks a defense position, it inflicts piercing damage. But then if it attacks, it switches to defense mode at the end of the damage step. That could be good for XYZ summonings or summonings for rank 5 monsters through the Geargia sect. But again, I'm not pure for Geargia, to be honest. Minefield Driller is the next one, a bit of a weird one to add into this, because it's mainly for the gear sect of the deck. When it leaves the field while it's face up and in your possession, you can target 1 field spell in your graveyard and add to your hand, so resetting up the Gear Town, which is decent. And now we get the first staple of this. Not many staples in this one. If you're buying a deck of staples, this is not the one you want for it. The first one is the Card Trooper. A very good card. Send 3 cards from your deck to the graveyard. Decreases this by 500 attack each. When it's destroyed, and you draw 1 card from it. So that's decent enough. More or less the only other proper. Oh wait, second to last one, that's a staple, would be Swift Scarecrow. Discarding this ends your opponent's battle phase when they direct attack. So that could be also good, and it's as good as common reprint. Next one is Oilman. I can see why this is reprinted, because when the Union monster that this is equipped to destroys an opposed monster by battle, you can draw 1 card which is very good for that ability, but again not pure for Geargias. Also another Union monster, the Heavy Mech Support Platform, which is powers up by 500, which is alright. You usually get this in machine decks. I believe you get in the Cyber Dragon deck and the Machina deck, and I think probably the Ancient Gear deck got that as well. Next one is Giant Rat. Well, 2 Giant Rats. A good Earth specific monsters that can special summon other the Geargia effects from the deck, but it won't be able to activate Geargia MK3's effect because it can only special summon by Geargia. And more or less all the other Geargia, all the Geargia except from Geargiano MK3 do not thrive off a special summon. They thrive off a normal summon or a flip summon. So Book of Moon can be very powerful in this deck. Next one is Limiter Removal. We're on to spells now, and the base spell for this, doubling the attack points of all monsters on your side of the field, or machine type monsters on your side of the field, which is decent enough. Next one is Machine Assembly Line, another basic one. When machines are destroyed, you gain 2 counters. You can send this and special summon a monster up to the amount of counters you had on it, depending on the level of that monster for the counters. It's just an alright card, but again not too applicable. Next one is a old card that got reprinted, Fissure. Not a very common card to be reprinted in a structure deck, but it does happen. It destroys a face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field as the lowest attack. Basic enough. And then you have more or less the opposite. Smashing Ground. You can destroy a monster on your opponent's side of the field as face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field. If it has the highest defense, so it destroys high defense monsters like Ojama King or Total Defense Shogun. Another one, and more or less the final staple. Well, there's one behind it, but more or less the final one, because we've already seen Gear Towns. They were earlier. We got Double Summon. This is critical for the Geargia deck because they thrive off their normal summons as well. Out of these, the Geargiano one actually is just one. No, 2. Geargia Georgia and Geargiano MK2 can only activate when they're normal summoned, or MK2 can do it when it's flip summoned. So it's more applicable with the double summon than a Giant Rat special summoning. Next one, and more or less the final staple now. Been saying that for a few minutes now. It's Creature Swap. Typical card when you've got rid of it, when you got a Geargia monster that you don't really need anymore and you want to use its second effect when it's destroyed, like Geargia Accelerator. You can use Creature Swap and gain one of your opponent's monsters. Best when they have one monster and it's a high level monster like Beazle or Stardust Spark Dragon. Next one is Terraforming. Final staple. Officially final staple. Adding a field spell to your hand. What it says on the tin. Then we have the boss trap card, Geargia Gear, a very powerful trap card that can special summon 2 Geargiano monsters from your deck and increase their levels by 1, which is more or less basically just for the Gear Gigant summoning. You can special summon Geargiano MK3, so then summon another level 4 Geargiano, and then if you do this on your opponent's turn at the end of it, you get 3 level 4s for summoning for later. You can only use that 1 per turn, but you can add it back with XG. Next one, to do with the gadgets again, Stronghold of the Moving Fortress. If you have gadgets on the field, it goes up to 3,000 attack, but you have to have 1 of each. Metamorph, not too applicable. Why is this in? Although it's more machine, it looks machine-like. It's not the best, I wouldn't say. Although for willpower appear weaker Geargia monsters, but it's not going to be the best one to use. Then there's Rare Metamorph. You can negate a spell that targets the monster, and it destroys it. When the monster leaves the field, it's destroyed, and this can actually power up by 500 instead. And then roll out with the Union card, special summon a Union monster. Then the final one, Gigant X, the other one I was talking about. Unfortunately, this is released as a common, as some people thought it was going to be an ultra, which I hoped it was going to be on Ultra, but unfortunately Gigant X is only used as a common. So I'll probably be replacing it with one of my super ones. It's a base machine monster that once per turn it requires 2 level 4 machine type monsters. You can detach one XYZ material from this to add a level 4 lower machine type monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and then if that's once per turn. When it leaves the field, you can target a level 3 or lower Geargia monster from your graveyard and special summon that target. So it can special summon Geargia or MK3. It may then use its effects. No, it won't use its effect because it's Geargia. It's not Geargia, it's Gigant. That's the problem with it. What's the only problem with this card. So out of that, it's a decent deck. It has some alright staples, but not the best if you're looking for staple specific. Options for other decks it had were Ancient Gear, Gadget, and I said earlier that it had Machina areas, and this is in the form of the Gadgets adding cards to your hand or the Geargia adding cards to your hand, so that you'll be able to special summon Machina Fortress easier or Machina Cannon. So yeah, that's pretty much the deck. It's a decent deck, more or less a fun deck. I advise buying 2 or 3 of these if you actually want to get this deck. By prices right now, the best one I believe is is Chaos Cards. That's the best one I believe that has sold it. I think 7 or 8, cheaper than other places or retailers. And yeah, so final look at the things: 2 supers, Geargia Attacker and Giano MK3. And the Ultras, Geargia, and XG. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and see more of these. I should be doing one in a couple of days time for the Legendary Collection 5Ds, which I'm excited for, because I could have a possibility of pulling Vanity's Emptiness, since that's a secret now and it's been confirmed. The whole card list is now on Yugioh organization. The Yugioh organization website. So if you want to know what's in the 5D's collection, please go over there and check it out. So yeah, thank you for watching and have fun, Yugioh fans.